so I started homeschooling myself.
Okay.
So, like most people, right? I show up at 2:00 in the morning after a ZZ Top concert in Oklahoma City, tell my mom that I got in okay. And then I told her that at 2:00 in the morning, I'm like, hey, I'm home and I want to homeschool for next year. And she's like, what? And she's like looking over at me. She said, but what about prom? That was her only, like, what about prom? And I was like, I don't know. We'll jump that hurdle when we come to it. But since I was the safe religious kid, church kid, I had too many proms. I had went to tons of proms and homecomings also. But I began homeschooling myself. And then in the middle of homeschooling, we moved from Tulsa to Houston. And that's really hard being homeschooler because the way you make friends is through school mostly, right?
Yeah, you're the new kid. People introduce themselves. Yeah.
Yeah. So instead what I did was I got a job. And because I was homeschooled, I could work during the day, and they needed someone that worked during the day. And I worked at Peter Piper Pizza. Peter Piper Pizza, this is your great place for birthday parties. This is Gomer. How can I help you? And I answer the phone that way. So I worked there, made friends there, and youth group. So I came here to St. Anthony's. They started this thing I've never heard of called Life Teen. I became super active in youth ministry, a little too active. I was crazy. I was everywhere. And
because you had the time.
Yeah, I had the time. And Barbara Beal, who I work with now, but she would eventually become my boss in youth ministry, but she was my youth minister at the time. She was like, she recognized the talent, and she's like, yeah, go teach classes, go do this. And so she would let me do all that stuff. So it was awesome.
At any point, did you consider priesthood?
Because
I mean, the way you talk about it, intellectually, you've got a great grasp on it. It's been a part of your life. Have you?
Yeah.
Did you discern at any point?
So I did, and poorly, and only when I was dating. So if you talk to my now wife, then girlfriend, we broke up like 4 or 5 times because of my quote unquote discerning.
Oh,
that there's a joke about discernment that people tell. It's the moment I discovered discernment, I stopped making decisions. And that was totally me. I was like, well, I'm discerning. And then I would get back together with her, and then I'd go discerning again. So it was awful.
Was this throughout high school?
No, this is in college. This is after college. This is when I was a youth minister here full time, and she was down at St. Lawrence and Sugar Land. It was a train wreck. I'm a human trainer. I tell people all the time, I'm a good husband, but I'm a good father, a great husband, a terrible dater. Yeah, no bueno.
Where did you go to college again?
Franciscan University in the lovely Steubenville, Ohio.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So Steubenville, the mothership.
So you were there for the entire 4 years?
Yeah. So I actually graduated in 3.5 years.
Okay.
And then I started taking graduate school. So in the third year, I started taking grad school classes. They had this 4+1 program where you could walk out in 5 years with a grad degree.
Okay.
So I started doing that philosophy. Then I started dating a girl, and I'm like, I can't put food on the table with philosophy. Only at Franciscan University is the question. Well, I have to become a theology major in order to make ends meet, right? Like no one thinks that, right? But at Franciscan, that was the idea. So I switched from I was philosophy theology undergrad because I still thought, like, what if I go to the priesthood? I got the theology and philosophy. But when I went, I changed my graduate major into theology, and then started doing that immediately after I finished my undergrad. So what would have been my sophomore year, senior year, I started, or sophomore, senior, the spring semester, senior year, I began studying graduate school theology full time. I did that during the summer, and then I ran out of money. So then I came here and was a youth minister. So literally, and then when we got engaged, X amount of years later, we went back, both of us, to finish our grad degrees 3.5 years later. And I finished it a week before I got married, my last class.
Wow.
I had the last $75 in my name to buy gas to go from Steubenville, Ohio to St. Louis, Missouri. And 1 week later was married. Yeah.
Wow.
It's pretty nuts. I instead was hired to be a youth minister in Austin, and we were going to live there. They're providing housing.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, St. John Newman in Austin. Beautiful
a lot sweeter
place.
Deal.
Yeah. About $15,000 more dollars and more or less free housing. So we did that for a year. We got pregnant, had a kiddo, and there was just this huge itch to be close to family. We weren't close to family at that time. And there was some other stuff that was kind of happening there that it was like, hey, it's time to leave. And we got out of Dodge. So we went to St. Lawrence. My wife ran the elementary faith formation program.
Oh.
And I tried to get my lay speaking job gig thing going.
Okay.
Tell people I was self-employed. Really, I was just unemployed. That's where I started layevangelist.com.
Okay.
A website seen by dozens. And so I built up all that, trying to be Mr., wannabe Scott Hahn, next speaker.
Okay.
And I got like 2 gigs the whole year. So I was just stay-at-home dad. I was doing stuff on the side. And it was funny because, we're trying to do all this, trying to make it work. We got pregnant with our second daughter. Don't know how that happened. And we tried everything. And I was like, I need to go back to parish work. And my buddy that I was a core member for in middle school, he left to go join a religious order. And they hired me in his place.